Howdy, Dr. Schaefer and Daniela. Welcome to my vlog. For my Choose or Lose assignment, I will be taking you with me on my daily walk/run route and point out to you the things that I've noticed since being in our class and how I'm applying the things I'm learning to my route through different parks and trails that exist in my neighborhood. So come with me and this is gonna be fun. So as you can see, as we leave my street, we are coming up on a park. This is Edelweiss Park, and it's a great place. As you've mentioned, honestly, in class a few times, all these houses along this side of the road just have their backyards backing up to the park, which is honestly a waste because look how beautiful. They could be looking out on this nice green view. Even these nursing homes back here could, but in general, most people are kind of closed off to this park. And that's a shame. They should be seeing it. But all they're getting is their own fence. So that's just something I've noticed that I probably wouldn't have otherwise noticed. Also looking at this park, seeing like Lick Creek that comes through here and just the different drainage areas in the corners, you can tell that this is a detention pond as well if there were flooding. Edelweiss Park also offers some choice. There's volleyball, there's basketball, there's a nice little covered playground. Really important that those pieces are covered for some shade. But then there's also just all the open area with the soccer goals and the backstop. Just limitless options. I've seen some softball practices happening back there, and I always, there's some dogs barking, and I always see kids playing at this park with their parents. Okay, so now I've turned and I'm walking down Victoria Avenue, and I'm about to approach this trail. You can see someone turning and walking onto it right there, and I'll share with you my thoughts as I walk down that. Okay, so here we are approaching this crosswalk. I'm gonna cross earlier just because there's no cars right now and I want to avoid the cars that come. But there's this nice little crosswalk that leads us to a trail, a paved trail. And what this trail does is it connects the neighborhood to College Station Middle School up here. And then it also has a trail that leads off to Cypress Grove Intermediate and Creekview Elementary. And so I think this is a really cool feature because it kind of connects all these houses to the school systems that are right here, because most of these kids go to these schools. And so I think that's a cool feature. Is this the most beautiful trail? No. Does that make sense because these backyards are backed up to it? Yeah. Like, I don't think many of these backyards are taking advantage of the views because the view isn't that special. But you do notice like this one has a fence with a gate that leads out to it so that they can take advantage of it. But I think several of these backyards aren't taking advantage of it because there's no gate leading to it. And that might just be a privacy thing. But I think something that could be added to make this better is this little middle strip here. I feel like they could add vegetation, even plant some trees, and suddenly this trail could be a lot more special than it is. But for now, it serves a good functional purpose, and that's good enough for me. Okay, I think one positive from this trail is that it is away from any major roads, so you have a lot less sound pollution and you can just kind of hear the birds and things. But one thing that is a drawback, as I just noticed, was I was passing some of these houses and I definitely was smelling food being cooked and just different smells from people living their lives. And so just because it is so close to people's homes, I think that's just part of it. You're going to experience different sights and smells and sounds than you would somewhere else. So here we come to the split. The trail continues this way, but also continues this way, and I'm going to go this way today. The trail going that direction just leads to more neighborhoods. This direction is going to lead us over to Cypress Grove and Creekview, and that's where I want to start showing you some more areas that this leads to, not only those schools, but connects to other parks. So let's go take a look. I'll also just comment on like people I've seen using these trails. Not only does it serve the functional purpose of like a route for people to get to school, but you also see people riding their bikes. You see groups of kids. They'll camp out, especially up ahead on this trail. I've seen kids camping out like in groups with their bikes, and they're kind of playing in this area where the creek runs through, and you'll also see people walking their dogs and just going on walks and runs. And so these trails are nice back in here because they're super accessible to these neighborhoods. And I even see one man who rides his motorized wheelchair all over these trails as well. And so they're a great accessible form of recreation, even though they're not necessarily an official park or greenway. I'm gonna be honest, I just got a little nervous because I definitely just passed a man sitting in the creek that I just passed back there doing possibly some illicit activities. So that's another drawback of this is like a little more secluded area. It's still backing up to people's yards, so it doesn't feel too invisible. It doesn't feel too secluded, but at the same time a little nerve-wracking. Like I wouldn't probably come here when it's getting dark. Okay, now I've come over, and this is Cypress Grove Intermediate School. So I'm just gonna cross over here and go to their track. We also have some commercial businesses along the side of the road. So not exactly the most nature-filled area, but I'm just gonna walk along their track to get to Creekview Park up here, and there I'll show you where it kind of turns into some greenway action. So here I am, there's the back of Cypress Grove. That's Creekview Elementary that we're approaching. And as I'm about to exit this track, there's no official like trail or pathway leading over to this park space that I'm about to show y'all, but it does have this nice open field, and I'm gonna walk through it. Sometimes I walk further down the road and then I come through these neighborhoods over here, and then I'll walk along this direction to get where we're going. But today I cut it a little shorter for the sake of simplicity, but in general I'll walk through this field in different capacities to get over to Creekview Park up here. All right, so I've just walked through this field and we're back on a paved path. This one is coming out of the neighborhood to connect to Creekview Elementary, but it also up here is where the trail starts that takes us over just behind those goalposts for soccer, past there and into Creekview Park. I discovered this park on a whim one day when I was trying to go for a longer run, and I came around in these neighborhoods back here, and I came around this elementary school, and then I saw this trail leading into the woods, and I said, I guess that's a trail. I don't know what that is, but it's paved, so I trusted it. And yeah, it took me over here, and so I'm gonna show you just like the cool features of it that kind of show how a little bit of trail design can create some dynamic experiences as you're moving through it. So here we go. So it starts out, we're exiting this open area and going into the mysterious woods over here. So not super mysterious, but you'll see. I think this like curve, this bend where you can't really see past this tree kind of adds to the fun of it. So here we are coming around the bend, and you can see a little more. We're still connected to this neighborhood, so you have kind of a sense of security, but you also get a little more vegetation action going on along here. You can start hearing some birds and some other creatures, and you realize we are no longer just out in the open in that schoolyard. We're actually entering a park area, and then you see the official sign coming up over here, so we'll take a look at that once we get there. This lighting, super important to add for a little bit of safety and security. And then here you go, the park sign kind of letting you know you are in an official area. But anyway, Next, we enter this bridge. I really like this bridge. It's nice and wide, so people on bikes, people walking can both cross it. And I believe this is Lick Creek, but there she is, beautiful. And this just adds a lot of mystery and complexity. I love this spot right here because birds will come and be kind of perched in different places, and it's just pretty, a little pretty scene. But yes, here you can see the creek running through this area, and it's just pretty to look at. Very shaded, very secluded, but there's still light and some sight lines through here so that you don't feel like you're just lost somewhere. And we're coming up on that Lick Creek entrance, the Lick Creek Trail entrance over here. So coming out of this shaded area, you see the Greenway entrance over here, but we're gonna keep going this direction. And I believe we're officially in Creekview Park is what this would be considered. Just this kind of open area. And along this trail, they have little exercise elements, kind of similar to Central Park. Right here, they have a chin-up bar where you can do different kinds of modified chin-ups or normal chin-ups. And so that's a fun feature just along here. And then as we're coming up on a little playground where it seems like there's lots of young parents or grandparents with little kids today. I didn't want to film too much back there out of privacy, respect for these people, but there's a nice little playground and it's nice and shaded because there's plenty of trees, which is nice. And then coming up here, we have another one of those workout elements. I'm sure you can lay down here and do some sit-ups with your feet tucked under that bar, which is nice. Then they have a bench right here. I think it's got nice prospect refuge just with the shade behind it and then the view out over there. And under here, just a nice little shaded underpass with these trees. Again, another bend in the road just adds to just an element of just curiosity and surprise around the corner. Again, this bench placement is really great. Great prospect refuge. I think it's a good spot. Just plenty of shade and cover, and then a nice view of the neighborhood. Again, we're coming up on one more little exercise element, a parallel bar. Then they give you different examples of exercise you can do on it, which is cool. This little park is very linear. Like, apart from the playground back there, it's kind of just one big line, this trail. And so it feels like more of a greenway, I would say, than a park. And it's about to connect up here with Edelweiss Gardens, and that also is a pretty linear park. And so them together combined kind of creates this greenway effect, while still offering like little playgrounds and recreational opportunities that maybe aren't going along the trail, but they could be. They also have little connecting points like this one that connects back into the neighborhood, or here again connecting back into the neighborhood. So it feels like it's almost just your sidewalk, but it offers more than that, which I think is a cool element. All right, so we're coming up to the road. It's the end of this park and we've hit the road. Unfortunately, as you can see, there is no crosswalk, which I think is crazy. So I'm crossing the road just hoping. Thankfully traffic's low at this hour, but I've definitely come here in the evenings and traffic's way worse. But here we are entering Edelweiss Gardens, and what I like is that here you can see people's backyards are backing up to this trail. But the difference here that's different from anything we've seen in the other parts, the other parks around here, are they actually have open gates, open fencing that they can see through, and then each of them has an access gate so that they can easily come back here and hop on this trail and go for a little walk. And I think that's just a really good use of this space, and maybe it shows that this park was a little more oriented into the community. This is their backyard and they've created access points, so that's good. Here we just have some nice trees, and again, a little mystery coming up here. You can't really see, but they do have this lamppost that I'm sure turns on in the evenings and creates some sense of safety while also preserving just that what's around the bend feeling. And you'll also see the trail's about to change. So we've just stepped onto this nice wooden bridge, and that's just a fun element. It's very covered here. The tree cover starts, and you'll see the creeks running through here as well. And this just creates some of that dynamic shift and change in what you're seeing, what you're feeling, the lighting change, the surface change of the trail. It just creates a new experience, maybe more natural than the pavement. You can also see a little trail that veers off here through the woods that someone has made. Who knows what that's used for. But yeah, so as we come out of there, we enter into another park area with a little playground and some open space. This park also has some covered picnic area, and as you come out of the kind of structured area, you'll see it has another path this direction that I often take that goes back into the neighborhoods, or I can go this way and it'll take me to another part of the park. It's kind of broken up into two pieces, so I'm gonna go that way and show you what's going on over there. This open area of the park really does offer some room for choice, but there's still bits of shade with the trees. So it's just a nice combination of, so the trail keeps going this direction and it's gonna come behind these houses. And it gets shaded again, and just that curve, the bend, just allows, again, just a varying experience from being out in the open and then being in a shaded area. It's nice that there's both happening along this trail. So as we come out from this shaded portion, we just come out again onto a big open space. And basically there's just a big trail around it that I'm on right now, but in general it's just this big open space and not much else going on in this part of the park. But it does offer a little loop to run around the park or connect back into the neighborhoods. I will say this part of the park is significantly less shaded. I can't picture myself coming here in the heat of the summer. Right now it's a beautiful day, it's not that hot, so I don't mind the sun. We're coming up on this little bridge, just once again creates an element of something different, even though it's a small one. I think, who doesn't love a good bridge? It's not exactly looking out on anything pretty. This like drainage situation isn't lovely, but just creating some differences and some dynamic things going on. Okay, so I've circled back. I'm back at this structured playground area of the Edelweiss Gardens, and I'm going to show you this trail that I usually take to get home, to get back to my house, but it just comes through here. Here's that park area, and it's this little trail that veers off, and you'll see up here we have a little bridge, and this just serves as more neighborhood access. I think that's what stands out to me the most about these few parks I've just walked through, is that all of them have just incredible neighborhood access. They're stuck right here in the middle of a lot of residential single-family homes, and not only do they provide access to the nearby schools, they also just provide access to the recreational opportunities that exist. And so this is just one more example of that. You see this is the sign entering the trail, but yeah, we're back out in the neighborhood now. So the next stretch I take to get home is just along the streets. There's no parks on my route home, but I will pass through Edelweiss Park again and show y'all another aspect of it that we didn't get to see because we were walking around it, but we're gonna walk through it this time. But yeah, I think in general it's been cool with this class to have just like things defined for me that I didn't know had definitions, like the feelings that I get when I'm walking through the trails and experiencing the different parts of the trails. That is an intentional design. That's not just an accident that happened. Or seeing the varying opportunities that exist. Like, open space is not dead space. Open space is an opportunity for people to choose how they're going to use it. And because these parks are placed in the middle of neighborhoods, it's really cool because I can imagine people using these spaces for community gatherings or just to go take their kids right outside their house to the park. The options are really limitless, and either they can use the playground equipment, or they can go for a walk, or they can ride their bike to school, or on a safe path that's not a busy road. And so yeah, I think the more I've learned in the class, the more I've just been able to observe these things in real time as we're going along. I wanted to mention something about policy and like just the placement of these parks in these neighborhoods, because I've learned that College Station has the mandatory, what is it called? The mandatory land use ordinance or whatever. The words I was thinking of here were mandatory dedication ordinance. Mandatory dedication ordinance. I hope that's the name. I'm blanking on it as I'm walking here, but because it has the mandatory ordinance about what land is allotted with residential areas and developments, and what land is allotted to parks and to greenways and to green infrastructure, if you will, I can see where maybe something like Edelweiss Park was maybe just plopped nearby, whereas Creekview Park and Edelweiss Gardens show maybe a more intentional use of their green space, and just the difference that makes. Edelweiss Park just feels like an afterthought, whereas Edelweiss Gardens and Creekview Park feel like they were really integrated into the design of the development itself, and maybe a little more functional, a little more aesthetically pleasing in some respects. And so that all goes back to design and the choices that were made there. And so I've just noticed that, and I don't think I would have noticed that otherwise if it wasn't for this class, for sure. So now we're approaching Edelweiss Park again. This is just some commercial business that backs up to it. So I just wanted to take note of that, just kind of the mixture you're seeing in these neighborhoods. We do have like a good mixture of residential, commercial, and then these park areas all kind of mixed together. Edelweiss Park has like all three of those things touching it. Well, I guess it is the third thing, but both of those things touching it. And I think that does kind of make a difference in what it looks like and how it feels. So as we approach, you can either take this route around, or you can go into the park, or I'm gonna take this little trail that's looping around the back of the park. This trail is like a half-mile loop, which is nice if you wanna run around a loop, or maybe just walk around a loop. I like this part of it because it's shaded back here, and there's a nice little bench that offers great prospect refuge. So I'll take a seat on it out there and show y'all what it looks like. But it's a nice view of the whole park from this elevated position back here. This shaded area just offers a little variation. Most of this loop around this park is not shaded and is just out in the open. But this piece back here is really nice, especially in the heat of the day. It does make me a little nervous if I come here in the evenings when it's dark, because sometimes these lampposts that, here's one right here, these lampposts aren't always turned on, which I've noticed, and so that can be a problem. But here I'm gonna sit down on this bench. You can see great prospect, and then great refuge, just trees behind me. And then that commercial business back there, but it doesn't really feel like anyone's creeping back there, I don't think. So I feel safe, and then I can also see the whole park in front of me, so that's fun. I will say with this commercial area back here, you'll sometimes hear noises, like they're working on cars and other heavy labor and things back there. So sometimes you will hear noises that aren't exactly like pleasant to listen to while you're sitting or walking or playing, but it isn't too much of an issue. It could be a lot worse. But here is that backstop. Oh, see, there was a really loud noise. That's an example. But here's a backstop for softball or baseball. There's definitely softball practices out here this time of year. We're coming up on a nice little tree. I really like this tree. I've seen people come and sit under this tree. I think they really missed an opportunity to place a bench over here. It would have been a really nice bench placement because people already come. As you can see, like the grass is worn away back there. That's where people like to go sit. But here we are coming back out on that sunny patch of this trail. And they placed a bench right there. You can see someone sitting on it. I don't think that's the best place, but it still offers some prospect and a little bit of refuge. Also, these nursing homes back here, I really think they should have had that gate be open, have windows facing the park. It would have been a great moment to take advantage of this beautiful open green space. It could have taken advantage of having a pretty view, but the fence they put up really blocks it. So I think it would have been similar to these people's backyards. They should have opened that up for them to take advantage of the pretty view. But that's all I really have for today. I just think this class has helped me maybe have a more analytical view of the parks that I walk in every day or engage with every day. From a design standpoint, you get to choose like how a park or a greenway or a trail is going to best serve the people who are going to use it. And that's more important than just meeting mandatory requirements, you know, like these are the parts of our lives that give us better quality of life. Taking a walk every day, going for a run, being outside, connecting with nature can be right outside your front door. And so the people who are designing it, it's their job to take these people into consideration and take their lives into consideration. How are they going to be using these elements daily? And how can we just better improve people's quality of life through these little parts of our communities? So I'm thankful for this class and what it's taught me and just giving me open eyes.